For today's tech demo, I was given a case study about Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith is a 5th grade teacher with 20 students in her class. All of her students are in person, and in her English language arts lesson, she's teaching about synonyms and antonyms. Mrs. Smith is using exit tickets in her class by giving her 20 students a slip of paper after each English language arts lesson. On the slip of paper, it has the question, "What questions do you have about today's lesson?" The students are instructed to answer the question and give it back to Mrs. Smith. The exit tickets are getting a little overwhelming to Mrs. Smith because it is difficult to evaluate the students because a lot of their answers are either short or they're very vague. It's also difficult to get the bigger picture when looking through 20 different slips of paper. And each slip of paper has completely different answers from completely different students. It is also very difficult to track the growth of not only individual students, but of the whole class and their growth of knowledge on each concept taught every day. Lastly, it is difficult for her to give timely feedback to each student. It is also very overwhelming with her having 20 students in her class and giving exit tickets 5 days a week. This would mean at the end of the week, Mrs. Smith is having 100 exit tickets to go over and read. So for today, we were supposed to give an online service that can help Mrs. Smith. So for my online tool, I chose Google Forms. So what is Google Forms? Google Forms is a free online tool by Google, and it allows users to create forms, surveys, and quizzes, and many other things. It can be used collaboratively to edit and share forms with others, and a lot of educators use it to assess students. I know, and when I was in high school, we used Google Forms to take a lot of quizzes for English, especially when we were sent home to all online school. Google Forms is very easy to use and can be used in elementary classrooms, middle school classrooms, and high school classrooms. So the biggest question we have here is, why should Mrs. Smith choose Google Forms? So Mrs. Smith is currently using exit slips in her classroom to ask students what questions they still have after the lesson, see what students are still struggling on so she can form her instruction to fit the students' needs, to keep track of how much individual students and the whole class grew their understanding, and to give feedback to individual students so they know if they are grasping the concepts or not. So basically, Mrs. Smith has to hand out 20 exit slips a day, have the students write their answers, collect the exit slips, read over each individual exit slip, and form a consensus of what the students are understanding, what the students are not understanding, and this can become very overwhelming. A lot of students are going to have completely different answers, and some students may understand this concept, and some students may be completely lost. So this can be very hard for Mrs. Smith because it's hard to find an overall consensus of what the students still need to learn, because every student is going to have a different answer. So with Google Forms, Mrs. Smith can create surveys on Google Forms as her exit slips, so she could create a survey instead of short answers, and that could be easier because she can just have 3 separate answers instead of 20 different answers. She can create small quizzes to see what the students are understanding. So she can ask questions from the lesson and see if the students are paying attention or if they're understanding. And then also with Google Forms, Mrs. Smith can save a lot of paper. So at the end of the week, we found out that Mrs. Smith was having around 100 slips of paper that the students had their exit slips on. So this is a lot of paper that is being used, and also it is very overwhelming. I can't imagine having to go over 100 little slips of paper with each student's answer on them at the end of the week. And then with Google Forms, she can easily and quickly respond to the students. And that was one of the big things Mrs. Smith did not like about the paper exit slips, because it was hard for her to respond to the students in effectively and a timely manner. And so the students would write their feedback on their exit slip, and then they weren't getting their feedback from the teacher for a while because it was too hard for her to give feedback quickly. So here is an example slide of a template that already exists for exit tickets on Google Forms. So this just shows how easy it is to use, and you can personalize anything, but it's also just very easy to use because there's already a template created. So Mrs. Smith would just have to go in and write her own questions, write her own answers, whatever she would like to personalize. And then another example slide shows a quiz. So this quiz, you can put in your own questions, you can put in your own answers. So you can choose the way you would like your students to respond. There are different ways to respond that you can select. One is multiple choice questions. You can do short answers, you can do long answers. And what I really like about it is with the multiple choice questions, it doesn't require you to choose a correct or to choose which answer is correct. So this is very nice because if you're doing kind of a survey, like, did you understand today's lesson? And you can be like, yes, no, I'm in the middle. There's not a correct answer. So you can just see how many students selected each answer. And also you can make some questions required and some not required. So you could do that on the end, just be like, any more comments, and it doesn't have to be required, or you can't have it required. So sharing with students is actually very easy for the teacher because she can either use class emails and send it to their class email, or the teacher can create a link, and this link can be put on a school website. It can be just something that they have to type in. It's just very easy to share with students. And the last side is how to create as an educator. Okay, so this is where I'm going to show how to get on to Google Forms. So you can just search Google Forms in on Google, and you can go to Google Forms. So this will show there's a template gallery at the top, and from the template gallery there is actually a section that is for education. So they have on here, they have blank quizzes, exit tickets, assessment, worksheets, and course evaluation. So with that, you can choose whatever template you want. You can go in and make your own without a template, but I think templates are the best way to go because it's already set up for you, so it's pretty easy to just put in your own questions or even use some of the questions that are already given. So I'm going to go to the exit ticket template. And on here, it shows where it already has something for their name, their email, and some questions. And so you can actually go in and delete them. Like from Mrs. Smith, she probably doesn't need the email in there. But the first question I typed in, so you can select the question that they have and you can type in your own question. So that's what I did, is just what is one question you still have from today's lesson. And then also on the answer text, I put long answer text, and I think this is more beneficial because the students are more likely to write a longer answer, more questions, if it says long answer question or long answer text, or you can do short answer. It doesn't really matter, it's just whatever your preference. And then on this one, I'm just going to delete the why or why not, and I'm going to kind of show how you can do multiple choice. So you can just select multiple choice and you can write in your own answers. And when you do write yes, it automatically writes no in it, but you can delete that and write something else. I just wrote no again. And then you can add as many options as you would like. And once you are done filling out your answer and your question, you can just click out of it and it will show that you are done. And then on that last question, I just wrote just to list 3 reasons. It kind of gives the students more of a base to write off of. They know they have to write 3 things instead of just one short little thing. So I think listing more is just more beneficial to the teacher. So then also you can there's a little button that says required, so you can click required, and that just shows that the students have to answer the question. And then you can go up to the little purple button that says send, and you can either send it to their emails or you can click the link button, and you can just copy the link and you can go into a new tab and just paste that link in there, and it will pull up your exit ticket. So you will just type in your answers, and it's very easy for students to use, especially if you are giving this in a higher elementary class. It is easy for them to just type it all in, and it's very self-explanatory. So yeah, you can just have your students go in and the answers.